It's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. I'm Pete.
I'm Chris.
I'm Daz.
And I'm Richie. Daz, run the intro.
You're the joker, the expert, the voice, but you want a background. A vision of weakness you don't.
Well, here we are. One man down. Yeah, Martin's gone to get his job, which is great news for us. We won't have to listen to him moaning about it for eternity. Finally got his wish. He's going to have the job. Now all he has to worry about now is the hackers and giving him back his belly button. As anyone that's listening to that, you have to watch last week's show to get that one. Welcome to Chris. Thanks for joining us, Chris. You tried to get out of doing the quiz, Chris, but no, wasn't going to happen. Just because the dictator got top marks. No, the quiz continues, man. You still have to do the quiz. Pete, welcome.
That's right.
Welcome, Pete. And fair play, Pete. You didn't have to look for the link again. You had it on standby this time. You didn't have to ask for it again. That's what shows an improvement. We like that, Pete. We like that. And Richie, the glamour.
I don't know about the glamour.
Welcome, Richie. We all know that there's rumors of you departing us. There's of leaving Loader HQ, going solo like Robbie Williams, even meeting promoters in shopping centres and things like that. Yeah. But we're all good.
Yeah,
so no. My introduction isn't as good as Martin's, but yeah, Martin hopefully will be along to us with us later. We've got a packed show as always, and we'll get straight into it. And I see there's a few comments coming in as well, but we'll start off with loaded headlines. Okay, so we'll pick up really where we left off the last day. And just because we've kind of brought you on a journey already, we've talked about the Champions League, we've talked about the playoffs, it'd be rude not to kind of mention who the winners were. So I'll give you the three winners. I think everyone knows who they are, and we can just talk a little bit about it. So congratulations to Chelsea winning the Champions League. Pep and Man City to that honour. Nice one, Chelsea. We have Brentford, who are going to join us as in Newcastle in the Premier League next season. Well done, Brentford. And there's Ivan Toney in the front and centre. Be interesting to see what he can do in the Premier League. And well done to Blackpool as well. Promoted to the Championship. So back to the Championship for Blackpool. So yeah, that brings the end of our football journey in across the leagues to a conclusion. But so what's your thoughts, lads, on the winners? Or did you get to see any of the games, or what's your initial thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing I'm going to notice that is all our subscribers from Morecambe are going to leave, since you forgot to mention that they got promoted from League Two. But then, never mind.
Yeah, I don't go down that far.
No, you can't say that, man. You don't know how many subscribers we've got from Morecambe, so you can't say that. Anyway,
don't stop there, Rich. You keep going down now the divisions.
And we don't really go past League One. That's where Sunderland are, so we don't really go past that. No, I think just going back off the winners there. I think I'll be honest. I was surprised Chelsea beat Man City. I think all of us bar Martin said we fancied City last week. So yeah, I was a bit tried, but to be fair, I think they did a job on them. I think there was some players played out their skin last week. I think both full backs were amazing. And I think my personal man of the match, I thought Kante absolutely ran the show. I just thought he was absolutely immense in the centre of the park. It was nice to actually see him play in his correct position for a change, because they tend to either, when they play in the three in the midfield, he tends to play more to the right or something like that. But I don't know why he's never played in the centre, because when he was at Leicester, when they won the league, he was immense in that role. And he's probably the best defensive midfielder when he played in the correct position in the world, in my opinion. And I think even if you look at Jurgen Klopp, said he's one of the only two greatest players he hasn't ever been able to sign. So that says a lot. Regards Brentford, I think we all predicted Brentford would get promoted last week. And I think it'd be nice to see how Ivan Toney does in the Premier League. You know, he's gone from the Peterborough in League One in 2 seasons to be in the Premier League with Brentford. So that will be interesting to see how he makes that step. So obviously watch that. You know, as long as we don't have another performance like we did that when we played them in the League Cup just before Christmas, that's all I'm bothered about. And Blackpool were my fancied for the League One as well. I thought they were the form team coming into it. With Lincoln then beating Sunderland, I think it was a non-starter pretty much. And I know Lincoln got off to a good start with the own goal, but that literally just kicked Blackpool, into second gear. And from there on, it looked like there's only going to be one winner. So, full J to Blackpool to get back to the Championship and keeping our old rivals, our old muckers in the League One for another season. So that's 6 seasons now out of the Premier League. 6 in a row. 6 in a row, yeah. 6 in a row, yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Love it.
Over to you, Pete.
You know what? It was, although there weren't a lot of goals in the final, the Champions League final, I mean, it was actually a really, really interesting watch. Tactically, how Pep and Tuchel put their teams together. It was quite clear that Man City were not the same team without Fernandinho. I have no idea why he didn't play, but they clearly missed him in the centre of the park. And if you look at where the goal comes from, that's where Fernandinho is. That
Straight
pass
to the middle, yeah.
That pass from Mason Mount never gets through there if Fernandinho's in the pitch. So, it's one of them. But look, Chelsea were well organised. Tuchel had a lot to prove because he got a lot of stick from PSG for not winning the final and for not taking them that next step. They didn't believe in him, but he's gone away to Chelsea that have far less superstars than PSG have, and he's made them into winners. So absolutely, fully deserves all the plaudits that he gets. But the one man that stood out for me didn't even start the game, and that's Andreas Christensen. I thought he was outstanding at the back defensively. I've never really massively rated him as a centre-back. I always thought there's a mistake in his game, and it usually proves to be the case. But he was, for the time he came on the pitch for Thiago Silva, he was outstanding. Last-ditch challenges, positional play, winning balls in the air. He just had everything that you wanted for a centre-back. And on the biggest stage of them all, it was just fantastic to see. Really, really well played and fully deserved. Brentford, it's about time. First and foremost, they've had many chances to get into the Premier League, but they've made the step finally. As I've said to a lot of people that I speak to that are fans of Brentford, it's very, very different playing Premier League teams in the Cups to playing them week in, week out in the Premier League. And I think it could be, providing that unless they really buy some quality players, I think they're going to have a real difficult season. I do. They're not built in the same way that the likes of Leeds are and the likes of Sheffield United were when they first came up. They're not built in the same way. I have massive question marks about Ivan Toney at Premier League level. I know there's been a lot of Newcastle fans that have ranted and raved about Ivan Toney and talked about, we should have never sold him, we should have never got rid of him. In my opinion, yes, we should have, and I'm glad that we did. And I'm sure that Ivan Toney's glad that we did, because he never would have been in this position now had we have kept him, because he just wasn't good enough. I still have question marks. We have to remember that the Championship is very, very different to the Premier League. For one, you play more games. For two, you don't have the same calibre and quality of style of player as you do in the Premier League. And for Ivan Toney's point of view, they don't have the same quality of centre-back that he's up against every week. So my judgment on him is still, I'm still reserved on that at the moment. He's got a lot to do for me, but well done to them. And then Blackpool have had a fantastic second end of the season. the back end of the season have been really, really good and been really consistent. So I fully expected them to go through. Lincoln, I thought, did really well. And I think, if anything, that will give them confidence for next season to really kick on and hopefully stop Sunderland again.
Ended that on a nice positive note there, Pete.
Oh, of course.
Over to you, Chris. Are you still working on the quiz there in the background?
Oh, no. Quiz is all done already. It's all good to go. There are lots of random questions tonight, so I hope the lads enjoy it. But no, in terms of the Champions League final, I completely agree with Rich and Pete. Sorry, I've just got one eye on the England game here.
It got disallowed.
So tonight. Oh, has it been disallowed? Yeah. So England are playing Austria, as most of you will know, and it's live on ITV. If nobody is aware of that, but yeah, we're 11 minutes in, and England have just had a goal disallowed. And I'm going to come back to that a bit later because I want to discuss the lineup with you, but if we get time. But in terms of the Champions League, yeah, the Champions League final, I completely agree with the lads. It was a fantastic game. Really enjoyed watching it, and Chelsea fully deserved the win. Although I must admit, I was really disappointed by City. I think Pep got his lineup wrong. I completely agree with what Pete said, about N'Golo Kanté. In terms of he was allowed the freedom of the park, and the fact that Fernandinho didn't play was a massive shock. Even Rodri, he needed that holding player in there, and the fact that he chose not to do that, I just think it backfired on him. I mean, I know he changed it up, didn't he? I think it was around 65th minute, but by that point, I think they were fighting a losing battle. Pete mentioned about Christensen. He was really good, and it's equally impressive for Christensen because he's come on into probably the biggest game of his life, and probably what will be the biggest game of his life, and performs like that. That must be really, really promising, for the likes of Tuchel, because he'd be thinking, wow, I must have a player on my hands here. And not only that, I thought Rudiger was fantastic, and since Tuchel's come in, he's really got a tune out of Rudiger and Christensen, when I think a lot of Chelsea fans would have probably, we need to replace those two players. But I think they've been fantastic since they come in. And Tuchel's done a great job on the defence, full stop. I mean, Azpilicueta's always been a really good player, real good captain. But Reece James has really come on leaps and bounds. And I think that's why now, I think that's why now, you could arguably say he should be starting at right wing back if we do play 5 at the back for England, because Reece James has just been in fantastic form. He's been really, really good. So overall, Chelsea fully deserved it, and Man City, they will regret that. And I was a bit sad for Aguero. I was sad to see him so devastated at the end, because I really did feel like he deserved to win the Champions League with City, because he's been so good over the years. But it is what it is. In terms of the Brentford game, I didn't see all of the match, but I did catch the end, which was obviously the best part. When they realised that they've been promoted, so that was really nice. And I'm really pleased for Brentford, as I said last week. They've kind of always been the bridesmaid, not quite there, but the fact that they get an opportunity next year is great. And hopefully they become like a bit of a Bournemouth, where they kind of bring their own emphasis to the league. I understand what Pete said about concerns to do with Brentford. I don't think they're built as solidly as Sheffield United. I don't think they've got the same calibre of player as Leeds. Leeds play very attacking football, but I don't think Brentford have got the squad. And particularly, it'd be interesting to see how Ivan Toney gets on. And do you know what, Pete? It was funny when you were talking about Ivan Toney and saying you don't regret us selling him. I was thinking, I don't know, Pete, it would have been good keeping hold of him. But your point was absolutely right, that if we had kept hold of him, he wouldn't have performed the way he has if he was still at Newcastle. So he wouldn't be the £20 million striker that people are talking about. So it's good for Ivan Toney. It's good for Brentford, and good for us in a way, because it means that we've allowed him to kind of get on with his career. And if he does come back to Newcastle or a different Premier League club, or stays with Brentford, then he'll get the opportunity to showcase his talents. And I think it's the same, to go slightly off topic, I think it's the same issue that Adam Armstrong's had. And a lot of people are saying we shouldn't have let Adam Armstrong go, but he's been getting his regular football, and he's now putting himself in the window. And whether or not we sign him, I don't know. That may be a question for later, but I've got my own thoughts on that. But the fact that he's been allowed the opportunity to perform, it's favoured his career, which is really good. In terms of Blackpool, I wasn't really surprised Blackpool went up. I think they fully deserve it. Really attacking, free-flowing football, and again, I was delighted for them. Not so long ago, Blackpool were in the Premier League, obviously, so it's nice for them to be back in the Championship. Hopefully, with the opportunity of maybe making the playoffs next season. You never know. Might be a good little bet at that. Actually, I might have a little look at that because Blackpool performed really well, particularly the second half of the season, as Pete said. So definitely want to keep an eye on.
Cool. Cheers, Chris. I watched or kept an eye on all 3 games because I did have a bet based on our discussions that I might think I had my first football bet for about 2 years. But yeah, Man City let me down. I Brentford, Blackpool, but Man City let me down.
Me too.
But anyway, I think I broke even on my Trixie. But I'm going to jump to the next section and I'm going to change the direction slightly because we've got 2 good questions that have come in and it's linked to one of the topics that we're going to talk about. So I want to put this up first and kind of throw this out to you guys. Okay, there are 4 managerial vacancies. Last count for me, anyway, was 4 clubs that are looking for new managers. So my question would be: you're starting a new save on Football Manager. Who do you take over? And bearing in mind all that comes with the baggage that comes with each of those clubs. Let's say for Everton. They seem to stop-start. They win one game, then lose the next. So they're on and off, no matter what manager has been there. Wolves, there's a project there. Unlucky with Jimenez getting injured this season, kind of slowed them down. And Nuno Espirito Santos left. At Spurs, they have no money really. Kane wants to leave. They have to pay for that stadium. Still a massive club though. And Palace, who need a massive rebuilding job. So keep that question in mind. And I also want to throw at you, and you'll probably bring it up while we're talking about this, and that the lads have in the chat have mentioned it, with Carlos Ancelotti. God, I forgot his name there. And Ancelotti, he's with him leaving Everton to go to Real Madrid. Bear that in mind. With Conte linked to Spurs today, and with Nuno linked to Everton. So, what's your thoughts on the whole managerial merry-go-round there, Richie?
I don't know. I think it's still a silly season, and it's as soon as that last kick of the Premier League season, everything kicks in. Whether it's managerial merry-go-round or whether it's the 108 players you're going to be linked with before the start of the Premier League season, it's just one of those. And I think you're going to see quite a lot of names banded about. I was surprised to see Zidane leave Real Madrid. Obviously, he stated that he couldn't get on with the board anymore, which, it's completely understandable because there's a lot of high demands from the board at both Real Madrid and Barcelona. Was I surprised Ancelotti went back? I know that's something we're going to talk about, but yeah, that was. I'll go to death a bit more on that. Regards all the other positions, I think that there's plenty of managers out there. The only one I'm mainly concerned about is the fact that I don't want to see Rafa go to any of them for one reason. Because I think if Rafa doesn't go to any of them, he's definitely holding on for Newcastle and takeover. Without doubt, that's what he'd be looking for. And to be fair, I know even Nuno was getting talked about at Palace yesterday, and obviously now with Everton being free, he's being linked with them. So there's plenty of things still to happen. It's only got the second week of the Premier League of the season, pre-season. So there's plenty of stuff still to go. But it's going to kick on for a few more weeks and stuff like that. There'll probably be a couple of transfers get through because of the Euros. Some will want to be signed up before they actually go to the tournament. But plenty of time to go, and it wouldn't surprise me to see. The only one of those jobs that isn't very eye-catching at this moment in time is the Palace job, because I think the amount of free agents, I think we discussed it last week briefly, they've got a hell of a lot of free agents this year, and it's going to take some rebuild. Yeah.
Cheers, Rich. Pete.
Where did we start? First thing for me, I'm just a bit gutted that there's only 4. Manager. I'd love to see the Newcastle badge right where the Football Manager logo is, just to see that there's 5 clubs looking for a new manager. I was kind of hoping that would be the case, but we're not so lucky. Look, I'll start First things first. One thing I've noticed is that certainly from the Spurs and the Everton point of view is that they're looking to wrap their managers up quite quickly. And I think with those particular clubs, the reason why they're doing that is because they know that players that they're targeting and players that are currently existing in the squads are relying on that. They want to know where their futures lie. They want to know what the situation is with their club. Perfect example of that is Harry Kane. Harry Kane wants to know what manager he's working with. He wants to know who Tottenham are looking to trying to sign. And I think in order to keep Harry Kane, they're going to have to pull out a couple of big signings to encourage him to want to stay at the club. So they need a manager wrapped up to know who he wants in order for that to happen. So I think, the stuff that we're hearing about those two particular clubs, Tottenham and Everton, are as true as anything. And I think they'll be wrapped up quite quickly. The situations with Wolves, I think it's Bruno Lage, I can't pronounce his name properly, the Benfica manager. It looks like, and we talked about it before, I had the mindset that we thought it was either going to be a Spanish or a Portuguese manager to come in and take the reins, and it looks like that's going to be the case. That one's probably the most cut and dry of them all. With Crystal Palace, I was genuinely shocked to see that Nuno Espirito Santo was actually linked with that job. Because for me, going from Wolves to Palace is a massive drop down and a massive coup if they manage to get him. So that was the one that surprised me more than anything. But I think common sense has prevailed and that Everton are linked with him. For me, and I don't know whether you want to get onto this now, I've got my opinion on Carlo Ancelotti. Do you want me to wait on that? Or...
Go for it, Pete. Go on, go for your opinion.
Well, if you're an Everton fan, you're not going to like this. I'm sorry. But Carlo Ancelotti could not stay at that club any longer. And if you watched his body language for the last 4 months, I think that told you everything you needed to know about his long-term future at that club. He could not care less. He was as uninspiring, as unmotivated as you could see a manager, an elite manager, in his press conferences, on the sidelines. His heart was not in that job. And I think he realised quite early on into this season that he could not take this team any further. Too many bad results, including the one against us at Goodison Park. And the players' mentalities are just not where he expects to be, players to be with the type of manager that he is. And when that job came up at Real Madrid, it was a no-brainer for him. He deserves to be in an elite club. He is an elite manager. And I've got no doubts that Real Madrid will benefit from having him back at the club, and they will fly next season. Everton, I'm really, really sorry, but they're just not that great of a club, if I'm honest with you. They've stayed in the Premier League for a long time. Fair enough, fair play. But have they really done anything with that time in the league for all those years? Not really. Certainly not in the Premier League years. I mean, I see Everton fans looking down on Newcastle and various other clubs in the bottom half of the table. But we've had more Champions League appearances. We've had more title challenges than Everton in the Premier League years. And yet they may have stayed in the years, not the Premier League longer. But if you look at it, we finished 2 positions below them. And for all the signings they made, the James Rodriguez, the Calvert-Lewins, and all the players that they will...
Balassi.
Balassi, and all the players that the media have lauded about Everton, and they're still no better off. And that's just been Everton. They have 1 half-decent season, 3 bad seasons, a couple of average seasons. A little bit like West Ham. And I'm not being funny. It was their birthday when they got Carlo Ancelotti at their club. They must have woke up every morning thinking it was their birthday. And reality is hit, unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. Sorry.
Oh, don't Pete. I blame the keeper myself. Chris, let's talk your comments on this topic.
To be honest, mate, I probably need about 20 minutes. So I'm going to try and condense it as much as I possibly can, because the last couple of days for me, mate, they've just been amazing. Like, do you know what? In terms of, I'll try and answer these as quickly as possible. So in terms of the managerial one, and what I will say, I know I've said this before, I'll say it again. It always makes me laugh the way the bookies love the managerial posts. They love them because, like, I was laughing to myself before because Sky Bet have got they've got a market open, and Nuno Espirito, Santos, right? He is the favourite for the Palace job and the Everton job, right? So go figure that. There's actually, believe it or not, there is actually a market for the new Newcastle manager, which is like about the ultimate disrespect towards Bruce. So no other club has got a new manager market, but there's a new Newcastle manager market. So
that's been there for all season.
Yeah. Bruce is definitely a dead man walking, and he knows that. But in terms of the question, for me, the two jobs that, if I was on Football Manager, the two jobs that I would be interested in taking over would be Wolves or Everton. And the reason for that is because I think Wolves and Everton are the two clubs where, and no disrespect, the expectations quite low in terms of, you know, they finish. If they finish 7th, 8th, that's a good finish. If you get above that, you're talking legendary status. If they manage to get into the 4th or the 5th, back in Europe, you know, the manager is a god. So they're the two clubs for me. The Tottenham one and the Palace one, as Pete's already alluded to, and I think Rich may have, I wouldn't touch the Palace one with a shitty stick, because they need all kinds of work doing. All kinds. They've got some decent players, but they're going to lose a lot of them. I'm not sure on the money. I don't think they've got that much available. But you're talking a big rebuild job. And in terms of Tottenham, that's probably the one that I'd touch least. The best players potentially going to leave. They've got a fantastic stadium, don't get me wrong, but the expectation on the new manager at Tottenham, because those fans expect top 4, and that squad is not going to get them top 4. It's just not going to happen.
Levy won't give you much either.
Yeah, it's the same with Arsenal. I wouldn't take the Arsenal job. It'd just be a nightmare, because unfortunately they're still living, 10 years ago. That's kind of where they are at the moment, and they're nowhere near. I mean, look at what West Ham have done this season. Villa. I would rather take a West Ham or a Villa job than a Tottenham job or an Arsenal job all day long. And I think Wolves and Everton are both good opportunities. Sorry, Pete, go on, mate.
No, I was going to say, just a question to you, Chris. Do you see the situation at Tottenham? Because I fully agree with what you've said. Do you see the situation at Tottenham as a sort of a mirror image of what happened at Arsenal with the new stadium?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, they've put all their eggs in one basket. I understand, and the stadium's absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but to fork out that much money and it's costing you on the pitch, I think Daniel Levy's been a bit naive, and I think he's thought, my team's set. I've got some fantastic players here. New manager. He got rid of Poch. He brought in Mourinho. And by the way, I don't believe that Poch rumour either. I know people keep saying the Poch is unhappy at PSG and he wants to leave. I don't believe that. And I certainly don't think...
There was a development on that today, Chris, actually. There was apparently PSG have triggered an extra 12 months on his contract. Yeah. But they don't know whether that's because they're happy with him or
whether they're trying to keep him.
If he was to go to Spurs or something.
Yeah.
Lads, what did I say to you in the chat? I said, what did I say to you in the chat the other day? I said exactly that he's, because like I said, I've mentioned it before, my brother's a PSG season ticket holder.
That's right.
I was supporting him since the early 90s. He knows a lot about the club and French football. And the one thing he said to me when I went to see him on his birthday about Pochettino is angling for an extension on his contract. So all this talk about him leaving, all the talk about Tottenham, riling up all the Tottenham fans. But what that's doing, all he's doing really is putting pressure on them to give him what he wants, because he wasn't happy initially when he got given only a short-term contract when he first signed the deal. And as a former captain and a former player of PSG, I don't see him leaving that club until he's at least won the league, the cups, and had a real proper push for the Champions League. He's not even had a full season. So it doesn't make sense for a manager of that ability to leave. But no, I just wanted to put that point out there. But
no, I think you're absolutely right, Pete. And he's won the 2 trophies. He's won the 2 domestic cups. He'll want that league. He'll want to wrestle that back off Lille. Was it Lille who won? I think it was Lille, wasn't it? He'll want to wrestle that back off them. And then already, everyone will laud him for that and say how fantastic he is. He's working with the likes of Mbappe and Neymar. And people are saying that he wants to go back to Tottenham, where potentially Kane it doesn't want to be there. I don't even think that would keep Kane. I think Kane's made his mind up. I don't think Kane will stay. I think Kane's got one foot out the door.
He might stay if he brought Neymar and Mbappe with him. But
maybe, yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. But
can I interrupt here? That
question, mate. No, go on.
No, can I interrupt, Chris? Because I think you've covered all the bases, Chris. So you're good on that one. But it's funny you should mention Mbappe, because with 1 minute each, I'm going to ask you a question that could probably take a half an hour each. I want to link in Mbappe. Should he stay or should he go? And Gareth Bale, where and what's he going to do after the Euros? Where is he going to apply his trade? And just bear in mind, Ancelotti's now back at Real Madrid. Does that open the door for him again? So you've 1 minute each on that topic. Go, Rich.
Wow.
Mbappe, I think if I was him, I'd move. I think he's done everything he can with PSG. I think he needs to go and test himself in a higher league. There's some of the talent that's in the. I think you've got 3 or 4 sides in France, and the rest of them, the standard of the league isn't great. He needs to be playing against the best week in, week out. He needs to be over in the Premier League in my eyes. Regards to Gareth Bale, I wouldn't be surprised that Ancelotti now going back to that Bale stays, if I'm honest with you. Pete?
Yeah. Oh, Kylian Mbappe. So he's got a year left on his contract. This is it, really. He either leaves this summer and PSG recoups some money, or he leaves for free. The only club he's going to is Real Madrid, because it's the only club he wants to go to. So it's either Real Madrid or he stays at PSG. Now, I think there could be movement on this in this summer, but it won't be until after the Euros. I don't think there'll be any movement before then. Just because I think PSG are going to want some money back from him. They're not going to let him go for nothing next summer, because I don't see him signing a new contract. He's at the right age now to move on. Gareth Bale, under Ancelotti and potentially Mbappe, I think he stays at Real Madrid.
Cool. Cheers, Pete. Your 1 minute starts now, Chris.
Okay, so Mbappe, I think he should move. If he's only got a year left on his deal, I think it was stupid of PSG to keep hold of him. He's won everything he's going to possibly win at PSG, bar the Champions League, and I don't think PSG are going to win the Champions League. I think they're just falling a bit short. So if I was him, I would probably go to Real Madrid. I think the Ancelotti thing's really interesting. I didn't answer that, by the way, Daz. In terms of Ancelotti, I think it's a crazy move. We may be able to talk about it later, but I think from Ancelotti's point of view, I do think it's a crazy move. I know, I take what Pete said, he's not been happy, but I do think it's mad, because I think the Real Madrid job, it's so unpredictable. It could mean that if things don't go his way in 6 months, he's lost his job. Whereas at Everton, he had all that time, he had all that space. But I understand when Real Madrid come calling, obviously you're going to go, aren't you? But I thought it was an odd move, and it wouldn't surprise me if Real Madrid ended up getting rid of him, that he just retired. Really wouldn't surprise me, and whether he's thought, I'll have one last crack at it and leave it. In terms of Bale, it was interesting because Bale said, not last week, was it last week or the week before, that he wants to announce what's happening after the Euros. But he said something along the lines of it's going to be a big surprise or a big. So I don't know whether he's agreed somewhere or he's going he's signed a plea deal with someone. Yeah. I mean, Ancelotti. I think Ancelotti would keep hold of Bale, and then he could be back in favour. I mean, money's tight at the moment, isn't it? I don't think anyone is going to be splashing the cash. And if Real Madrid are going to sign someone, they're going to go all out for Mbappe, aren't they? And did you see what Sergio Ramos told all the Real Madrid players? He said, don't take a pay cut, because all they're trying to do is save up money for Mbappe. That's what he went round and told the whole squad. And Ramos is going, isn't he? Yeah. That's his little parting shot.
He's absolutely right. That's what they're trying to do. You know what? I think that question from Tom about Ancelotti is a fantastic question. It definitely is. Chris is right. I think it needs more discussion on that, because I think
we'll do a bonus show.
That move.
Yeah,
a bonus show on that one. Okay, lads.
I could do a managerial one, couldn't we?
Yeah, we definitely could. Yeah. I'm gonna save the sponsors to later because we've got Ben on the line and I want to get him on as soon as possible. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who's watching. I know everyone that's watching has already subscribed, but anyone that comes along and clicks on this video later on down the line, hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching. So let's go to who normally says this bit. I think it's you, Richie.
Yeah, go on. Loaded fan favorites.
Nice one, Richie. So last week we had Chris versus Pete, and it was very, very close.
Pete, that was close.
Very close. And the winner was Chris. 53% of the vote.
Close, mate. Yeah.
Well done, Chris.
Well done, Chris. Well done,
I
Chris.
don't win much. Thank you.
Great.
I think it's time to bring on the. I think Apollo Junction described him as the sexy bassist. So here's Ben from Apollo Junction.
Yeah,
welcome, Ben.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't know how they said that.
Welcome back, mate. Good to have you back.
Yeah.
And of course,
yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me back, lads. I mean it. Thank you.
No, pass it on. And of course,
you are. Cheese to put on while you were on your holidays, mate.
What's that? Oh no, I am. I've just come to the coast for a few days. Yeah,
nice.
it's lovely out here. Yeah.
Cool.
And of course, Ben, you're a former winner of our quiz. If you remember back, you were Apollo Junction topped the leaderboard.
Yeah.
To claim the trophy.
I'm just going to take a screenshot of that. There we go.
Oh, work away.
No, I'm still waiting for that trophy. Actually, I'm trying to promise the trophy.
The post.
What was the percentage to be able to give you?
Oh yeah, Marcelo. I'll have to catch him up. Yeah, he's probably kept it because as much as I love him, he's not won many trophies, so he's probably kept it.
Before we get into your team, Ben, how's things going for Apollo Junction?
Do you know it's going? It's sort of turning. To be honest, it's kind of a lot of it's going over my head. There's a lot of talk of all the marketing, and we're doing deals, which is great. You know, it's fantastic, but a lot of it, you know, it's flat. You know, they're talking about distributing and percentages and all this deal, that, and I just look at lads, and when they're nodding, I'm just nodding, going, yeah, that's great. I mean, it's an ideal world to be in. That we're setting ourselves up for a great end of 2021 and a great next year. Just just COVID permitting, you know, things are going really well. You know, we've got the album out now on pre-sale on 12th of June, and we're hoping it'll sell more. So yeah, it's going great. Thanks for asking.
No problem. And of course, I think did I spot something as well? Your song was played in the Champions League advert as well.
Oh, well, yeah. No. It was played after Man City v Dortmund, and it was also played after. Oh, one sec. Sorry. It was also played after the Chelsea game. So it was after both semi-finals. Yeah, and
cool.
Genuinely, they don't tell us. I promise you now, they don't tell us that they're going to use our track until like a month later, and then we get paid like every quarterly. So we had absolutely no idea that were coming through. And the amount of new followers and stuff he gets just incredible. I kept tweeting Liam Gallagher because I know he would have seen that and heard my track, but he never got back to me. But anyway,
don't think he gets back when he won't bend. You know,
I know, mate. I know. No, I know.
Nice.
When I see him at Isle of Wight, I'll tell him.
Ben, let's get into your team. And actually, I must introduce Pete, Ben, Pete. Pete, you didn't get to meet Ben the last time.
Hey,
Pete has joined us
since
you met.
Good to meet you, man.
So let's get into your team, Ben, and you can talk us through it. So here it is.
I'm glad you've shown me that because I'll. Yeah, I went 4-3-3 in the end. Listen, this nearly split my family up, so we debated this. But I took company. I put company in for Ferdinand because I think company can score. You know, I had to put a Leeds link in with Radebe. It was a no-brainer, and I also think he'd do well in this team. I just couldn't put John Terry in. Sorry to any Chelsea fans, but I just couldn't.
That's fine by me too.
Yeah, you know, for a lot of reasons. Thanks for that comment, Keith. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo and Giggs, no brainer. Obviously, I'm biased as a Leeds fan, but they were just fantastic. midfielders, and attacking players. Vieira was a solid one. Shearer, bang in the centre. Bergkamp and Henry are like your skillful, creative players who can also finish. So I know Peter Schmeichel, obviously, for obvious reasons, is fantastic. I don't know. See what you think. But
Yeah,
I think I think there's a bit of a gap, obviously, in the centre midfield. I should have possibly gone 4-4-2, but Dennis Bergkamp, I've not seen him in any of these so far, and I thought, well, Gordon Bennett is a great player.
Do you know what, Ben? I was just about to say you're the first person who's had Dennis Bergkamp in, and do you know what?
Well,
mate?
I thought
it's absolutely so good. I mean, Dennis Bergkamp, the Iceman, he was just he was something else, wasn't he? So no, I think it's a great thing putting him in. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, with Vieira in his prime, I forget who it was who said it, but whoever played with him said Patrick Vieira could probably run the midfield on his own. And I fully believe that, because in his prime, he was that good. Yeah. He was just everywhere, wasn't he?
I was debating him and Keane, but every time you put on the old classic Wenger versus Fergie game, Vieira had Keane in his pocket, and he got to Keane every time. In my opinion, it did. Man United fans will probably disagree, but he was just sensational, an absolute unit. But yeah, Bergkamp, I didn't think he'd been picked, so I thought, well, I'm sticking him in. I'm going 4-3-3.
Nice one. And Keith asked the other question as well, and we totally agree with your selection here of leaving out Rio Ferdinand, but former Leeds player.
I was going to put. I did say, but I think I said earlier I had him in, but Company is a goal scorer as well. I'm just going attacking it. Company's class as well, but it was a last minute change, and I mean I think I had Gerrard in as well, didn't I, earlier? But I took him out for Bergkamp. Yeah, you did. But
I was surprised with the Leeds link that he didn't go for did the same as what I did. Could we go and put Woodgate in?
Well, I was gonna, but I don't know. I still think Radebe and Company were better than Woodgate. I mean, because I think, did Woodgate go to Newcastle?
Yeah, he was immense for us.
Oh, what it? Well, do you know what? Whenever anyone leaves Leeds, in my opinion, they're garbage. So that obviously wasn't. No, you are right. Woodgate, it was good, but I think Company gets it for me because he's a leader as well on the pitch. He's a leader.
Yeah,
and that squad needs a leader at the back four.
Speaking of people that left us for things that they said last week's show, Martin was actually due to take you on today, Ben, in the head-to-head, but no, Martin isn't with us today. So the good news is you get a bye into the next round. So you're through to the next round. Martin hasn't showed up, so that's it. So he's out.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. So basically, I tell it, whoever I say, it was a whitewash. Yeah, it was a whitewash.
Exactly.
Whitewash. Yeah. But no, hidden gem Bergkamp. I'm really surprised he wasn't picked.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be put to the challenge now when you go when we do a little draw of who you'll come up in the next round. So that shall be interesting.
Yeah, there's some good teams in there. Some really good teams in there.
I know, but I wasn't lying when I said my family's falling to bits here. We debated and debated and debated. I mean, they were talking of putting Calvin Phillips and the feeding him, but I said, no, they've had one season. I can't be biased as a Leeds fan. I've got to be honest, and at the end of the day, I mean, you've got to put Man United players in there because they won the Premier League more than any other team, I think.
Yeah.
So, good squad. I say it through gritted teeth.
I think let's put on one of your tunes, Ben. We did actually play "Light Up the Sky" at the end of one of our shows before, but now that you're on, it hadn't come out when you were on the show, so let's play "Light Up the Sky."
Oh, thank you.
Enjoy. Love that.
Thank you,
Love that,
thank you,
Ben.
thank you.
Last tune,
That's a great
last
tune.
mate.
Cheers. Do
Great tune.
you know what? I dropped out of the studio by accident, but I'm reading some of the comments. They were really positive. Thanks, everyone. You got some really nice words. It's nice to see.
They sure were. There was everyone was loving the tune, and I think they've heard it before as well. So and they're all familiar with you guys too. I think they've followed up with on YouTube and so on and so forth. So that's great.
Cheers.
So yeah, I suppose Ben, question for you while we still have you.
Yeah.
Any gigs coming up, or anything you want to tell us about, or promote or anything like that?
Yeah, we've got loads of gigs. We've got we're touring with Kaiser Chiefs first of all in September. We've got the Isle of Wight Festival. We've got another gig which we can't announce. So you'll just have to keep an eye on social media for that. That's a big one. Yeah, we've got a few. So we've got the Leeds gig, which is almost sold out. I think we've got about 50 tickets left. That's about 700 capacity. So yeah, all good.
Cool. And thumbs up from Dino there from Away Day Radio as well. Big Apollo Junction fan as well. And of course,
he's a good guy.
The listeners will be listening back to this on Saturday from 1 to 3. So that's great. Any other questions for Ben, lads, while we have him?
Yeah, just obviously I didn't get a chance to ask you the question the last time because I wasn't on, but how did you guys get together as a group? Was there any sort of special circumstances that came together, or were you just always very close?
No. We sort of come together because we were like we're sort of like different musicians in different bands, and we all sort of come together. Like, yeah, it's a bit of an old cliche, but like, you know, like if you picked a dream team of like old Leeds bands, and that's kind of how we got together. And the first meeting was in a pub called the Junction in Shipley, and we loved the Rocky films, Apollo Junction and Apollo Creed. So Apollo Junction sort of made sense. Yeah. And we had, you know what? Obviously, we've had some tough times personally and as a band, but we've stuck by each other constantly, and that's what's got us where we are today. And we're brothers, you know, we've got a 20-20 split. No matter what happens, you know, we are like brothers. It's fantastic, really, you know. That's answered the question.
Yeah, I always like to ask the question because, you know, each band kind of forms for different reasons. Either they've known each other for years, or they've just come together just by absolute chance. And you know, it's always interesting to ask because everyone has a different story. So no, I like that. Cheers for that, Ben. No,
it's right. Well, I actually met Matt at college. We've been great mates for. Oh God, I was about to say donkey's years, but it feels like that. We met in a weird circumstance because we had the same shoes on and we were listening to the same album, which is a genuine story. But then we were just doing terrible open mic nights and we got in a band and we got decent. So yeah, that's how we met. We just sort of picked the best of the bunch and we sort of touted each best member from each best band, and here we are.
Best of the best. Nice one. Brilliant, Ben. Thanks for coming on, Ben. It's a pity we didn't have someone to go up against you head to head, but hey, there are the breaks. You're straight through the next round.
Listen, I've won. It was a white one. My wife's saying, look, I won. A
winner.
As I was just going to say before Ben does go, just to pick up on what Dino had actually mentioned in the chat, that they've actually got a couple of gigs lined up, Ben. Away day, doing a few gigs. One's down in Coventry, and possibly there's another one we can't announce yet, which is going ahead. But they are going to be looking out for doing some around cities around the country and stuff. So when we get to the Yorkshire Yorkshire area, you know, we'll be on the lookout for some acts around there. So look out for one of us giving you a shout, mate.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah. Just message me and stuff, and that'll be class.
We'll bring the trophy.
Yeah, well, I am. I was just saying, it's not a 5 foot post yet, that trophy, but must have been last foot post there, lads.
Yeah.
Come here, Ben. We'll say goodnight to you, and we're going to play out with another one on the ropes, actually. So thanks a million, Ben, for coming back.
Thank you.
If you come on again,
thank you.
if you come on again, I think we're going to have to, like Soccer AM, we're going to have to give you some kind of prize, a ball or something like that. So when you get the hat trick,
we'll just give him the trophy then, Daz.
Big long list of things that we have to give him that we'll never give him. Yeah,
I'm a Leeds fan. I don't know what trophy looks like or feels like. So,
neither do we.
Neither do we.
You got some notes. Come here, Ben. Great season for you as well in Leeds, and thanks for coming back on. And we'll talk to you again, mate.
Yep.
Cheers, and thank you to all those who've put them nice comments in. I'm just reading them there. It's thank you. I mean it, every single one of you. Thanks for commenting and thanks for having me back. I'm sorry if there was a bit of background noise there, but
Ben, anytime. You're welcome anytime, Ben.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I mean it.
Tell Bielsa we said hello. Take care, mate.
I'll drop him a message now. All right.
Good luck. Cheers, Ben.
Take care, mate.
Here's On the Ropes, guys.
So good. So good.
Great track.
Great lads as well. Great bunch of lads. And love their footy too. We had a great chat with them about Leeds in the first show that the lads were on. But thanks to Ben, and hopefully we get Apollo Junction and Ben back on again in the future. People are asking about Martin. How's Martin? How's
don't be asking
Martin?
About
who?
Martin's
Who's
fine.
Martin? Who's Martin?
Martin's fine. He sent us a picture before, didn't he? In the queue. He did. He's having his COVID jab. He's in the queue.
Oh, we'll hear all about it.
I don't know. Was it a McDonald's queue?
Chris, you're just telling because no one's asking about your toe anymore.
I know, no one cares. It's still bruised.
Is he coming back with the McFlurry, Chris?
I hope so. Yeah. But no, we do wish Martin our best, don't we? We do wish him the very best. He said he may pop on, didn't he? He might pop on, so we're keeping our fingers crossed. You never know.
Exactly. No, okay. Richie, I'm going to call on you for this one. Let's do a bit the shout out to the sponsors because I will forget it later on otherwise. Okay, first up, Body and Soul. Mind, Body and Soul.
Mind, Body and Soul, they do some fantastic things regarding mental health. Adam and the guys there have, haven't been around long, pretty much similar sort of title what we have. But they've got their own website, mindbodyandsoul.uk. Some fantastic merchandise there. I think both myself and Daz and also Mark, we've also got the hoodies and the t-shirts. Looks fantastic with all like your away day, football sort of club on with your jeans and your Adidas 3 stripes. It goes really well. And if you're on Twitter, give them a follow. You'll also find some lovely the way that they actually match them up with the trainers and stuff like that, actually give you some outfits. But not to be on a serious note, though, they do give you do a lot of fantastic things to people who are in dire need. Little things like helping people get to work for the rest of the month. It could be something like 30 quid for a bus ticket for the rest of the month. Something that could cause a major stress to someone going forward for the rest of the month, but that little 30 quid to get them to the work for the rest of the month, it's just a little thing, but it can mean such a lot for for a person. So they do some fantastic things. We're proud to be part of beside them, alongside Away Day Radio, as well as our 3-way partnership.
Nice one, Rich. Thanks for that. I'm going to shout out to Away Day Radio, our partners, Away Day Radio, and this show goes out on Saturday between 1 and 3. I saw Dino in the chat there earlier. We had actually lined up an impressionist this week. If you remember in our planning, lads, we had an impressionist. But let's just say he's getting his jab today, so he could make us. Hopefully be along next week. So Dino, make sure to tune in for that. You're not going to want to miss that. You're still there. You're probably listening back, and if you missed it, keep your ears peeled for that one. And just to mention as well, Richie mentioned that the Away Day Radios are organising gigs across the country. The one that I know about that's definitely announced is on the 29th of August in Coventry. The Institutes, The Drift, who we had on the show as well as the Institutes, and Jay Tennant, who we had on the show. So and there's Athens, Miles Cheshire, and the Astros as well coming up on that one. And our other sponsor I want to shout out to is Retro Souls. They do something with shoes. It's
all on Leaders, all online. It's like all your Adidas originals at Retro Souls UK. It's all brand new and pre-owned trainers as well. So go and have a look. He's got all sorts of trainers at all sorts of budgets. And to be fair, you can find the sort of trainers that you want there to go along with your matching Mind, Body and Soul t-shirts as well. So it's a good little partnership between the pair of them there.
Nice little pair of them. I like it, Richie. Nice little link in there. Sorry, Pete. Did you have a question or something there? Were you going to say something?
No, I was gonna do the sponsor,
oh, sorry.
But no. It's okay.
Next week, Pete. There's always next week. So where are we going to go next? We don't have a band with us yet, so this might give us an opportunity to talk. I'll give you the option, guys. And actually, just want to shout out to as someone does join us in the chat.
Guess who? Sylvie loves to follow Junction, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. So shout out to Sylvie first. And for those people all the way from France and Lyon and France, and I saw her, she wants follow Junction in Lyon and France. I think that if the lads went back to Lyon, she may not let them leave again. Though that's the only thing. All right, there, Sylvie. But yeah, we've got a special guest here to join us live from the queue. Is it? He's back, everyone.
Well,
Martin, welcome back.
Oh, there he is. Marty, how are you, mate? You still alive?
Yeah, COVID, as it says in the name, COVID secure. Yeah, all good. Yeah,
there he is, mate. There he is.
Nothing has fallen off. But the nurse, funny enough, she did say I could expect some penis growth. So brilliant. Great news.
Wow.
You're going to grow one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to grow one.
She was quite good though. She did say it was the first time she has had many occasions of handling little pricks the last while, so it was good. So what's going on, boys?
He's had that prepped in the queue, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, in fairness, I will give, much like the NHS in the UK, I will give the HSE their credit. It was very smooth, very quick, really easy and no hassle. So fair play to them. All those people that do work on the front line, giving all these vaccines and stuff out, fair play to them. Keep up the good work. It was very well done. So glad to be done. And a one-stop shop, all done. 10 days, fully vaccinated. Happy days.
Martin, just going back to what you said there about, you said that you might go into stuff like that. I didn't realise I thought you were getting the Johnson jab, not the Pfizer Viagra one.
No, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe the nurse was just a bit odd, but she seemed to be quite interested. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like in the morning when I wake up.
Okay,
so, come here, boys. Listen, I was watching a bit of the show at 10 minutes. Great to have Apollo Junction on. I'm not going to stay on because little fella took a bit of a bump on the head playing out earlier on, so he wants stories and stuff. So I'm going to do the right thing and be a parent tonight and leave you guys to the show. So I just want to come on and say hi. Still alive. I know obviously most of the viewing figures are down to me, but look, I'll be back properly next week. I'm sure the four musketeers will stand in well. So come here. I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll watch the rest of the show in between the England game. Have a great show, boys, and I'll talk to you during the week. And everybody else, have a good evening.
Take care, Mark.
Take it easy. See you, boys.
That was a nice bit of filler there, as we've no sign of our band. Vela Instant. Yeah, no sign. So we're going to continue on. Well, I'll have their tunes on, so we will play some of their tunes. But I'm going to go back to where I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame, and I want to bring this to you guys and see what you think. We had talked about Gerrard and Beckham before, so I will leave those. We didn't decide who, if you had to pick one, who would you leave out? We kind of left that, but let's go on to, because there's been a bit of talk of them tonight. Bergkamp and Ferdinand. Thoughts on these two lads? We start with you, Pete.
As it was talked about earlier, and Ben rightly put him in his sort of team, Bergkamp was a special player. He was one of them that was very different to the Premier League players that were around at that time when he came into the league and really lit it up. He had his touch was sensational, absolutely sensational first touch, great skill, and brought a lot of flair to the Premier League as a forward player. He was a very, very different type of forward. And although he didn't hit huge numbers in terms of goals, his effect on games was there for all to see. Frank Lampard, everything you want in an attacking midfielder. The guy had just goals written all over him. He just thrived arriving late into the box. And although he scored a lot of goals against the lower teams, he also provided big moments on the big occasions as well. He always played his part, whether it was in the Champions League, whether it was fighting for Premier League titles. He was always in and around things. So fully deserved, fantastic players, just the ones that kind of stood out in the Premier League.
Nice one, Pete. Chris, go to you next.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add much more than what Pete said. I mean, both fully deserve to be in there. Frank Lampard, you could argue, probably Chelsea's most important signing. I can't think of a more important signing that Chelsea made than Frank Lampard. What he brought to the club. I still feel really sorry for him over how his managerial career turned out at Chelsea. I still think he probably deserved a little bit longer. But yeah, in terms of a footballer, wow. I mean, the figures, the goals that he scored from central midfields were just outstanding. And it's sad, really, isn't it? Because when you look back at our golden generation, I mean, imagine a Frank Lampard, in the central midfield for England, and he didn't have the competition, in Scholes and Gerrard, and he was unfortunate in that we had a real big emphasis, didn't we, on midfield players. We had Joe Cole in there as well. There was lots of really top England players, and I know that he probably didn't pick up as many caps as what he probably thought he should, because some of the things he was doing for Chelsea was just outstanding. He was arguably the best goal scoring midfielder of our generation. You all know my preference towards Gerrard as a central midfielder, out of Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard. But I don't think anybody could argue that in terms of goal scoring, out the three, you're going to go to Frank Lampard. He was just sensational. And in terms of Dennis Bergkamp, I'm really pleased actually that Ben put Dennis Bergkamp in, because I didn't actually consider him for my team. But looking back, as Pete said, his touch was just something else, and his football brain. I think with Dennis Bergkamp, if you were going to say, who had the best footballing brain in terms of Premier League players, Dennis Bergkamp would be top. If not, he'd definitely be up there. He read the game so well. He brought other players into play, and I think, like Pete said, that's probably to the detriment of his goal scoring tally. But I bet if you add up, all the goals that other players scored and he had a part in it, even his movement off the ball, he probably created so much space for other players. I mean, Arsenal fans would know this far better than I would. That goal he scored against us. It's funny because loads of people question whether or not he meant it. And he absolutely meant it. He really, really did. And, as much as it pains me to say, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think for that split second, he's for, I'll take the touch and I'll go around the player. Yeah. But that's just Bergkamp to a T, isn't it? I mean, the only other player I can think of who you could argue maybe had the better touch than Bergkamp was probably Berbatov. Like Berbatov, his touch, and he was silky and great on the ball. He could trap a ball better than anyone. But Bergkamp, in terms of an all-round footballing brain and his ability on the ball, I'll always remember Bergkamp as well, because if you remember, he was close to signing for Newcastle, but Arsenal pipped us to him and signed him for 7 million. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we ended up signing Les Ferdinand instead of Bergkamp. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Sir Les, and I wish he'd spent longer at Newcastle, but I do often wonder, wow, imagine playing with Bergkamp and Shearer. It'd just be unreal. But yeah, both players fully deserve to go in there.
Exactly. Just as you mentioned, that Davida's turn by Bergkamp, every year, or is it every year? Yeah, or was on the 10-year anniversary or something like that. Anyway, one of the lads at work, he sends me an email saying, just as an anniversary, he tells me when that it was for the date of when that actually happened. So just to rub it in, loves to get that little bit of clip out.
Great goal.
Yeah, it was a great goal. Richie, your thoughts on Lampard and Bergkamp?
I think it's whenever Lampard discussed in conversation about the England midfield, and that, as you mentioned before, the golden generation that we had, it's really tough that one of them has to be left out, and for some reason I always found it really weird that the fact they were fantastic, all three of them were amazing players, but could never play together. It just seemed really weird that they couldn't. But as you said, they were all different types of players. Now, the one thing I always liked about Lampard, and obviously his goal record actually stands up, is he was always in the right place with his runs at the right time. He was. It's a bit like how Joe Willox reminded me a bit of him this year when he joined Newcastle. The way he times those runs into the box, and the valuable goals that he scored for Chelsea over the years and stuff like that. So, he's a phenomenal player and deserves his place in the Hall of Fame. And in regard to Dennis Bergkamp, he's probably one of the best Dutch players of all time. He's probably up there with like Cruyff. Do you know what I mean? And Van Basten and stuff, and Hullet and stuff like that. And just as we go through, England have just taken the lead. Bakayoko Saka's just scored. So there you go. Off the press, beat Chris to it again. Never mind, mate.
I felt sick when you said that. I was like, wow. I've missed it.
What was it?
I was checking the Scotland score.
What was it Julie said, Chris? I'm Sky Sports, you're BBC.
That is true, actually. That is true. I'm going to have to get on my game, aren't I? But yeah. It was Harry Kane shot in. Lingard played it back. It was a bit scrappy, actually. Grealish tried to get through, and then it ended up breaking out to Jack Grealish. It ended up breaking out to Bukayo Saka, who's just slotted into an empty net. But yeah, England 1-0 up.
Every time, Chris. Every time.
I know.
Yeah, no. Oh, what was I going to do? I think at this stage, lads, let's play a tune from Viola Instant 2. It looks like they're not going to join us tonight, but we still have a few of their songs on the system, so we'll play one or two. Any requests?
No, you've got the buttons, mate. You can choose.
Okay,
you go for it.
I just pick one. So, I'm going to go for the Liverpool one, Queen of Liverpool. Doesn't really matter, really, but we play one anyway.
Sail away from the Mersey parade, and we'll be all alone tonight. She'll be soon, my Queen of Liverpool, and we'll fade the sun tonight. She keeps the feelings left over.
Nice one. And a few good comments there coming in on the chat as well. Lads, let me ask you the question. Would you like to talk more about Ancelotti, Mbappe, or Bale? Because we didn't really get to the real depth of that. I really rushed you, only giving you a minute. And they also have more Hall of Fame stuff. So
I tell you what, Daz, have you still got that picture I sent you earlier on about from Aguero?
Oh, I do actually. That's a good one, Richie. Yeah, I still have that one. I want to get that one as well. Let's bring that up. And Richie, talk us through this because this is I found it interesting.
Yeah, it was because I saw it earlier on today, and I just thought it was fantastic. And if anyone who's obviously all the listeners, it's on the Away Day Radio. It was a tweet by the Football Arena, and it was just letting everyone know what Sergio Aguero did as a parting gift for all the staff at Man City before he left. It was he basically purchased a Hublot or Tag Heuer watch for every single member of staff at the club's first team building. On engraved person in the back was Gracias Kun Aguero, and also because he didn't want to take his Range Rover to Spain with him, he actually raffled it off and gave it to the prize winner of the member of Man City staff. I just thought it was absolutely phenomenal that, you know, he appreciated all the things that the club had done for him just to do little things like that. And then I think it's worth a shout out because you do get a lot of players who leave clubs and stuff now who don't care about the club they've played for and the fans and stuff like that. So I just thought it was worth a really positive shout out, and it was nice to hear because, you know, he's a worldwide star, probably one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen. But to be so humble and do something so nice like that, for, as I said, for the staff of Man City, just needed a shout out. I thought it was well worth it.
Definitely.
True, Rich, and you probably need a left-hand drive in Barcelona anyway. So,
do you know what? Do you know what, Rich? I'm really glad you highlighted that, Rich, because I think some fans of the show may be thinking, why does Chris really want Aguero, to kind of have the send off that he had, and he didn't win the Champions League. But when I saw that, and I did see that on Twitter as well, Rich, and it's really right, to bring it up because it just shows the kind of guy that he is, and he didn't have to do that, and he's left that token to all the staff at the club, and I just think it's a really nice gesture, and it just shows what kind of person he is. So yeah, no, it's a really top quality touch there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a class act for sure.
You know what? With Sergio Aguero is the one thing he always had is that question mark of would he stay in England very long? Because you get the South Americans that don't like to stay in the Premier League, purely for the weather point of view, very long at all. And the fact that he did and stayed for as long as he did, but also he loved being in and around Manchester. He understood the club. He was a big part of the club, and doing things like this just tells you everything about, like Chris said and Richie said, the type of guy that he is. And it was really nice that he's gone with the blessings of the club, because he's obviously gone to Barcelona, to play with Messi and all the rest of it. But to go with blessings and to go with that positive send-off, I really like that. And actually, I really like that about Man City, because all of their stars have gone with a really nice send-off. Vincent Kompany, Yaya Toure, David Silva, they've all left, not under a black cloud, but under real positive, vibes and a real good send-off because of what they did for the club. And you don't see that very often. I mean, I look at our own club and Steve Howie's talked about it before, Steve Harper, Shola Amiobi. For the years that they put into the club, they didn't get the proper send-off. So I'm really glad that a club like Man City have done that for Aguero and for the other players too.
Yeah.
I think one of the good thing about Aguero is people have got to remember he gave us one of the best Premier League moments of all time when he scored that goal that gave City their first ever title as well. I think that goes down. Everyone knows that bit where Martin Tyler, the commentary, how monumental it was for not just the Premier League and doing winning it for the first time, but it's shown most years as well. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that will always stick with you as a moment in Premier League history, no matter what happens going forward from now on.
Yeah,
cool. Let's revert back to one of the topics we talked about earlier, and let's combine them. Let's because we did touch on it. If we take Ancelotti going to Real Madrid combined with where will Bale end up, how do you think it'll? And I know, Pete, you in your comments earlier, you said Bale is going to stay at Real Madrid. That's it. That's what's going to happen. How do you think it'll work out second time around? With some water under the bridge, I guess, for both of them since then. Yeah, what's your thoughts?
The biggest part of the frustrations of Gareth Bale at Real Madrid over the last 2-3 years was the fact that Zinedine Zidane was the manager there and was very, very clear that he didn't really want him long term at the club. And I know there was like another manager in between, and that didn't work out well. And then Zidane's come back, but I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Ancelotti is the one that signed Gareth Bale to Real Madrid initially. So that has a big saying. And actually, Gareth Bale played his best football under Carlo Ancelotti. So I think that'll be a big pull. How do I think he'll get on? Well, the fact that the back part of the season he's played well for Tottenham whenever he has played. I mean, that Leicester game in particular was like classic Bale. He's showing his qualities. And I think if he plays anywhere near that at Real Madrid next year, that is the difference, because they've missed that from him. And I think he'll do well under Ancelotti, because Ancelotti likes to play a very attacking style and likes his players exactly how Gareth Bale plays. So I think it will only fit into his way of playing, and I think he'll really enjoy it.
Cool, Pete. I just checked there while you were chatting. Was Bale playing against Everton when Spurs played them this year? But no, he was on the bench. So just did he give Ancelotti a bit of a reminder? Hey, remember me? Chris, you really wanted to talk about this topic. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Obviously, Everton, being from Liverpool, Everton's it's been big news the last few days, and there's a lot of really upset Everton fans, and I can completely understand it. I mean, I was talking to my brother-in-law about it today only, and he was really upset because he just felt that, like, Ancelotti's he's spoken a lot about how he loves the area, he loves the fans, he's enjoying working for the club, and then obviously as soon as Real Madrid come in, he automatically sees the bright lights and walks away. And like Pete said earlier, I can fully understand why. Ancelotti's gone back to Real Madrid. I mean, they're one of the top clubs in world football, so I do understand it. But certainly, to touch on a little bit what I was talking about before, I'm just a little bit surprised that he's in a way he's gone so quickly, because I know it's Real Madrid, I understand that, but on the other hand, at Everton, the expectations, I'd say they're so low. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but Everton, to be back in Europe would be absolutely fantastic. They'd love to be back in Europe, back in the Europa League, not even the Champions League. So I noticed a lot of times, when Everton weren't performing well, nobody blamed Ancelotti. Nobody said a word about Ancelotti. It was the players, and Ancelotti needs time. He needs to bring his own people in. And I know Ancelotti was like a big fan of Richarlison, and he talked up a lot of their players. So I was just a little bit surprised, because I thought the Real Madrid job, as with the Barcelona job, you don't get long there, and if he doesn't hit the ground running, he could find himself out of a job very quickly, and he's going to be expected to turn Real Madrid back into the force that they were, and a bit like Tottenham and Palace, which I spoke about earlier, I think the rebuild job at Real Madrid is going to be huge. They're going to be losing Ramos. They've got Hazard there, who's not doing the business. They've got Bale, who's he wasn't wanted. Now he probably will be wanted, and I do, like Pete, I do firmly believe that they will bring Gareth Bale back into the fold. Ancelotti, I think, will give him another chance, and I think Bale will be happy to still be at Real Madrid. Who wouldn't want to be at Real Madrid? But I just think they've got quite an aging team. Modric isn't getting any younger. I could probably name a few other players who, they're probably time is ticking. And I just think with the money the way it is, with COVID and stuff, they're not going to be spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds. And I think if they do spend a lot of money on a player, it will be on Mbappe. So it's exciting in terms of them bringing him in. But as we've seen this year, they're nowhere near some of the English clubs. They didn't progress very far in the Champions League. So I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence over it. I get it because of the prestige and who they are, But I do wonder if Ancelotti will come to regret it, because if he does get sacked from Real Madrid, I just don't see where he goes from there. I mean, he may go back to Italy, or he may, take a job elsewhere. But I just think it's a bit of a risk on his part. And what's really interesting, he's took a 50% reduction in salary. So he was keen. He was keen to get out. So it's obviously not a money motivated move, which is nice to see. It's he said that Real Madrid's a club of his heart, and I do actually believe that. But I just wonder whether sometimes they say your head should rule your heart, and I just wonder whether this is one of those positions.
Cheers, Chris.
I'll let Richie go, and I'll come back to you.
I think it's a bit like what someone said earlier on about you saw his body language at the end of the season. He didn't seem. I don't know. He just didn't seem as though he was motivating the troops, as they would say. Do you know what I mean? That Everton were nowhere near the team that they were in the first half of the season. They were fantastic. And to be fair, some of the players that he brought in and spent, you think you would deserve a bit more loyalty from your manager as well. If you spent that much money to bring his players into the team. So yeah, I think if I was an Everton fan, I'd be a bit pissed, if I'm honest. I think there's another big manager in the area of Liverpool who, I think loyalty is his key word. You know what I mean? And we know that. And the red side of Liverpool know that as well. Do you know what I mean? Loyalty is one of the things that meant a lot to him, and I think Ancelotti could learn something from it. And yes, I know it's Real Madrid came calling, but at the end of the day, Real Madrid chucked him to one side, before. So what's to say they're going to do it again? Yeah, you'll get a nice payoff or something if that happens. But I don't know. I think loyalty goes a long way with clubs nowadays. And yeah, I know he's won the Champions League 3 times, and he's only one of 3 managers to do that, along with Shankly and Zidane, which I was actually shocked about. But I don't know. Sometimes they always say you shouldn't go back. I think it's a little bit different with Rafa, because he left because he wasn't getting the back, and he never wanted to leave, whereas Ancelotti was pushed. And I think that's something where you should, if that's the case, why is it not going to happen again? Barcelona and Real Madrid are renowned. If they're not getting the success they want, they'll pull the trigger straight away. And I just think they'll do it again, and I just think it's a kick in the teeth for Everton fans, and I'm completely understand why they're disgruntled and stuff like that. Obviously we mentioned it before about the candidates for each of the roles for the 4 clubs that are without managers at the minute. I think Nuno would probably be a good fit there. Obviously, there was a few South American players that have been brought into this squad. Obviously, with James Rodriguez, and you've got Alan as well in the middle of the park as well. And obviously, you've got Yerry Mina at the back as well. So that there's still that the Portuguese, Spanish-speaking contingent in the Everton camp. So that's probably a good fit. And I imagine Nuno will play good football, which is what the Everton fans want. A bit like what Newcastle fans want. We want a team that tries, a team that plays football. So I think it would be a good fit. And obviously going back around to the manager's jobs, which I didn't comment the first time. Spurs is a really difficult one to look at. That they're in so much debt with the stadium. As the man before, it looks like Kane's on his way out. You've got a board that won't back you, full stop. So, yes, you've got the fantastic stadium, but you're not going to be able to build anything, and that's going to be the problem that you've got there. Everton, I think, it was a fantastic club, but I think, as I said before, that's good. Nuno will do well there. Wolves, it's an interesting one. They've got potentially a fantastic squad, and I think one of the only reasons why they didn't do well this year, they really, really missed Raul Jimenez. And I think we've said this on another show before, you take your best striker out of the team, whether it be Harry Kane, Callum Wilson, like we've had this season, then you're not going to be you're not going to get the results you got the previous season or whatever. So, I think he's been a little bit unfortunate, Nuno, at Wolves. So I think that, we mentioned it, I think, obviously Pete touched on it before, the Benfica coach, I'd mentioned about Paulo Fonseca being available from Roma now. It was definitely going to be someone with a Portuguese background that was going to go in and take back over because of the contingent they've got within that squad. And I think with the Palace one, obviously, we said there's a huge rebuild there going to be needed. I think that the one person I think would probably be suited to that because of what he did before in the club he was at is probably Eddie Howe. You know, he took Bournemouth from League Two all the way up with no budget. Very, very similar sort of club. I would say Palace and Bournemouth, you know, the size and stuff like that. So he's proved that he can deliver with not much of a budget as well, which would fit into the remit that Palace have. So I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Howe goes to Palace, if I'm honest.
Eddie Howe to Palace. Interesting one, yeah. It would be a good move for him as well, and see what he could do. That's a massive rebuilding job, as we said earlier.
You know, he's still located on the south coast as well, and obviously Palace isn't too far. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, there was talk he wouldn't go to Celtic because of the location. You know, it's the other end of the country. He didn't really want to leave the south of England, so it just seems, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. It seems a bit of a logical fit, really. But that's what I suppose we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, won't we?
Shall be interesting. Yeah, we should actually go around the table later on in the show and who we think will end up in these positions. Pete, sorry, you wanted to come in with a comment as well.
No, I just thought Chris made a good point, particularly about the salary, the fact that he took a hit in his salary. And I think that tells you everything about how much Everton did to get him to the club, but it also tells you how much he was willing to leave the club. And I think the one thing we haven't talked about is reputation. And I think that's one of the biggest things in which he's decided to leave right now, and why he's tried to get out as quick as possible, is that he's got the reputation as a top manager, an elite manager in world football. Now, with all due respect to Everton, I know I was quite sort of blunt with them when I talked about the club earlier, but with all due respect to Everton, if he's a manager of Everton and not being able to pull them closer to Europe or closer to the top six, and you're having a first full season and finishing 10th like that, you're basically dragging your reputation down. And you know, with Real Madrid calling, that's an opportunity to maintain his status at the top of European football. And yes, he probably got in mind the fact that he might only be there a year or, you know, 18 months, however long. But what he's then thinking about is that he might still be able to then secure a top job elsewhere. Now, if he'd have stayed with Everton and had a similar season to this season and it carried on, his reputation dwindles further and further down to the point where these elite clubs will stop looking at him. I think that's played a massive, massive part. I don't think it's too much about, you know, the club being close to his heart. I think it's a reputation thing. I think he's trying to stay in the game, at the top of the game, for as long as possible. Now, with the way that the La Liga went this season, you know, with that current squad, Real Madrid could have and probably should have won the league still. And with the likes of Gareth Bale going back, and with maybe one or two changes, because the likes of Ramos is leaving, but they've also got Eder Militao, who they signed from Porto, who's a fantastic centre-back, a good young centre-back that's got a big future ahead of him. So they've got players that can come in to do a job. And if Ancelotti's the guy to do that. He's the guy to get these players playing on a different level. And I think an Ancelotti in that team this season, managing that team, I think Real Madrid win that league. I think that's just how I saw it. So I don't see it as a negative him going in there. I think he's not gone in there blind. I think he's gone in there saying, if you want me to come in here with the players that are overaged, and we've made a good point on that, I want to be able to bring in at least one or two good top quality players to make a difference to this team. So, and I think he'll get his wish. Because Real Madrid haven't signed a lot of players recently. They've brought a lot of players from Brazil at very young ages and brought them through, but they haven't signed big. And I think this could be the summer where they do sign big. Going on to the Palace point of view, I think Rich makes a great point on Eddie Howe, and I think he's the person that will probably end up going there for locality reasons more than anything. And Rich was absolutely bang on the money with regards to that. The only issue I have about that, and maybe the only issue that Eddie Howe has about that, is what we talked about earlier, is the fact that they've got pretty much all of their best players leaving on a free this summer. And that's not just a rebuild job that can be done in one summer. That's probably going to take a good few years. And if they don't get it right this summer, they could very, very easily be in a relegation battle next season. So he's probably thinking about this and thinking, who can I sign? Is he going to get the money? Remember, they're one of those American-owned clubs that are taking more money out than they're probably putting more money in. So is he going to get the type of funds that he can rebuild that squad? And that would probably be his only question, because Eddie Howe's next move in football is massive. If he doesn't get it right, he fizzles away. So he has to pick it. He has to make sure the choice of the club that he makes is the right one.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we go to the England squad next. Is that okay with everybody?
Just before we do that, I'll just tell you quickly who I think will get the job. Just so I get that in there. But in terms of Everton, it looks like it's going to be Nuno. At one point, it looked like Palace, but I think Everton have now come into the equation, and I can't see Nuno going to Palace. I think he will definitely want the Everton job, so I really fancy Nuno to get that job. In terms of the Wolves manager, I think, as Pete and Rich have already said, I think they've already lined up who they wanted, and that's why Nuno left, because they've already planned who they're going to bring in.
Benfica guy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be him. It certainly looks that way, and the bookies seem to think that as well. In terms of Palace, I think Richie makes a great point about Eddie Howe. He clearly likes being on the South Coast, doesn't he? That'll be an interesting one. My initial feeling was Frank Lampard, so I'm going to stick with Frank Lampard, because I do think any club should be really looking at him, and I think he'd be a big plus for them. Unless, of course, Celtic bring in Frank Lampard, that could be another option. But and in terms of the Tottenham job, it literally could be anybody, couldn't it? I mean, I know Conte's been linked, but I'm not sure Conte would leave Serie A winning team to go and take the Tottenham job, unless, of course, there's a lot of money involved. But Tottenham of the four of them, they really need to make the right move, because I know Arsenal brought in Arteta, and I think going forward, Arteta's probably going to be a good manager, but he's probably not what Arsenal needed right now. So that was a big risk, and obviously at the moment it's not paying off, is it? Because Arsenal are nowhere near a top 6 club, let alone a top 8 club, for me. So I think the Tottenham one's a really, really important one. And if you were pushing me to say who I think will get the Tottenham job, I don't know. I could maybe see Klinsmann going there. I know he's been out of football for a little bit, but he'd be very interested. He's got the link with Tottenham. I just don't see Conte going there. So unless it's a surprise name who we haven't factored in, I'd probably just go for Klinsmann, because I don't really think there's that many managers out there who would, certainly top elite managers out there, who would take the Tottenham job, because I do think it's almost an impossible job, and I certainly don't think it's going to be Poch.
Did you rule out Conte?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Conte. I know there's been rumours about him having talks with Tottenham, but unless they're paying him mega bucks, I just don't see him. I don't think Conte really enjoyed his time in England. I could be wrong, but I don't think he was particularly happy at Chelsea. I think he wanted to go back to Italy, so I'd be very surprised if he came back to the Premier League.
He's not really best fit, is he, though, Conte? I think
he's not right. Sorry.
I think you're right, Chris. Conte's not really a Tottenham fit in terms of the way that they play. And if you look at the way they played under Poch, and the way they played under Mourinho, and how they didn't like the way they styled their game under Mourinho, Conte is very much the same way. So I'd be very, very surprised. I mean, the only reason they'd sign him is to try and win a trophy, because he's very good at doing that. He's very good at building a team over a year to 18 months that can win a league, and then that's it. And if that's all they want, which I am assuming it is, that's why they're going for him. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem like the right fit. No. Great point.
I'm going to change tact slightly, because I see Martin have a conversation there with Keith in the background in the chat, and it just allows me to play my little intro, because I only ever got to play it once last season for Newcastle. So this is to you, Keith, and for better times ahead next season, and also during the Euros. Here's the Rotor Stat intro. I love it. I love it.
that.
Yeah,
I love that. I love stats. I love that.
Martin, of course, is insulting people in the chat, calling Keith Rain Man and everything. It doesn't matter where he is, he's causing havoc. But yeah, if you've joined us late, we are trying to apply filler here tonight, as the band Viola Instant couldn't make us, couldn't join us on the show. But let's go straight on to our next topic, and let's talk England. And I don't want to bring up the full squad of 26. I'm going to bring up the provisional squad, so you think you'll see the players that got knocked off. And what about you guys? You're all living in England, supporting England. I'm back in England to win the Euros as well. By the way, I reckon they're going to win it. So what about 4 right backs? Do you really need 4 right backs in your squad?
No.
I think the one thing about the right backs is that Walker and Trippier can play in the back 3, which is why I think they took the 4. That's why I think. Obviously, I was a little bit surprised to Connor Cody. If that was the case, though, I think he was the only one out of me provisional last week that out of the 7 I would leave out that actually made it. I said he would be out and they would bring James Ward, keep James Ward-Prowse in, but because that midfield looks quite light. But to be fair with the midfield, you do have Jack Grealish class as a forward on there. Phil Foden could probably drop back a little bit as well. So Saka can play wing back as well. So there's covering that forward department. So I wasn't too far off, but I think that's the reason why those 4 right backs, because 2 of them can play on the right side of a back 3.
Interesting, Rich. For me, I think I would have brought Ollie Watkins. He's done really well for Villa. He's kind of surprised me a bit. I thought he might be a flop with big money signing, but he's done really well towards the end. And I just think another striker because I don't rate. We touched on it last week. Calvert-Lewin. I think he had a great early part of the season, but he dropped off big time. So I would have brought another striker in there instead of just to have a backup option for Kane if they needed a goal, just to kind of a poacher really. So I would have brought one of those. Ideally, it would have been it would have been Callum Wilson. Jeez, I forgot his name there. Callum Wilson, but obviously he was missing for his head injured just before the end of the season. But I would have thrown in Ollie Watkins. Thoughts, Pete?
Touch on that though, Daz. Everyone's saying about obviously look at Calvert-Lewin and Ollie Watkins as the stand-in to the kid. You forget that Marcus Rashford can play through the middle as well. So he could be the one that could, and he can still play Sancho, and he can still play Sterling around him and stuff like that as well. So that's always a possibility as well if Kane was to get injured. I know he's not a like for like sort of thing. You probably look at Calvert-Lewin as the better of the 3 other forwards, like out and out strikers who are in the air sort of thing. There isn't one of them that's all round like Harry Kane, Shearer mold type thing. But for me, I would probably play Rashford to the middle if Kane was injured, or but Watkins if he'd been in, but also Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be looking to play Rashford through the middle as an alternative option. I do worry about Rashford's fitness though, because the last 3 or 4 months he's been playing with an ankle problem, and he hasn't looked 100%. He just hasn't looked himself. Even when Man U have played, and even if he's scored, he just doesn't look fit and raring to go. So I hope this rest in the out season before the tournament is allowing him to get to 100%. But yeah, there's a few choices in there that are a little bit concerning. The centre back positions are not strong at all. I really do worry about those areas. I worry that Maguire is not fit, because I don't think he is, and I think that's going to really hamper him in this tournament. But equally, Harry Maguire is absolutely key to us doing anything in this tournament. He is just as key as Harry Kane. And I know Gary Neville made that point, and I 100% agree with him. Harry Maguire, for all his faults, for all his critics, is a very, very good centre-back, and he makes the team better with him in the team. He allows us to bring the ball out of play. Positionally, he's very good. He's an organiser. and he is the best centre back England have. Without him fit and firing, we are not the same team. Connor Cody, I would have said in any other season, 100% definitely, because I really like him as a player, but he's had a horrific season and he does not look the same player at the moment. So having him in is a question mark. And then, you've got 4 right backs. Now, I kind of get it, because if we're playing 3 at the back, Reece James can play as one of those 3 on the right-hand side. So we can effectively do what Kyle Walker does, or is going to do in the tournament, is play the right-hand side of the back 3. And that's absolutely fine. But there are question marks over some of those players. I'm not convinced by them. Tyrone Mings, I have no idea how he's managed to get into this squad. I just don't rate him. I think he's a mistake waiting to happen, and that's in the Premier League. You put him in international football, and I think is even more of a risk of having him in. But again, we are limited. Calvin Phillips, I don't really see the hype, if I'm honest. I think he's been okay. I don't think he's England ready. If I was going to start anybody, I'd be starting Jude Bellingham. 17, 18-year-old lad that's took Borussia Dortmund by storm this season in his first full season at the club, playing Champions League football, playing at an elite level, and also playing extremely well, for me, comes in way before Calvin Phillips does. But Jordan Henderson and Mason Mount and Declan Rice should be the first 3 choices there, purely because they've played more games. Then it should be Jude Bellingham. But I think he's going to start with Calvin Phillips or have him very close to the starting lineup, which I think is a mistake. I also think it's a mistake that Jesse Lingard's not going to the tournament either. I would have had him in and took Ollie Watkins out, because 1, Jesse Lingard's had a very good end to the season. 2, he's already got tournament experience and played well at a tournament already, which is the type of experience you need in an England squad. And 3, at this point in time, he's a better player, in my opinion. So, some of the choices have not been great, if I'm honest. I'm not excited yet about this team, and this performance has just gone full time now for the England game, and this performance hasn't filled me with any confidence whatsoever against a very, very poor Austrian side. So I'm not quite there yet, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen the game, and I haven't actually seen England play for a while. But they're not going to be wanting to risk injuries, and I know some of the lads were saying in the chat that Trent Alexander-Arnold picked up some kind of a knock. But so they're not going to be going full throttle, I guess, in the lead up. But yeah, they want to be showing a bit of hunger as well, though, for fighting for places in that team. Chris, in your Christmas jumper. Any thoughts?
T-shirt. Everyone thinks it's a jumper. T-shirt. But no, do you know what? I'm not the biggest England fan, and I won't profess to be the biggest England fan. I don't know whether it's because I'm from Liverpool. I don't know, but we don't tend to follow England that much, if I'm honest. To me, from the outside looking in, I feel like, and I might be wrong saying this, but I feel like Southgate's bottled it a little bit. Like, as soon as I realised he picked 3 right backs, I just kind of felt that he didn't feel up to the making the decision of getting rid of one of them. It could be that Trent Alexander-Arnold is now, out, because he certainly didn't look good. He had to be helped off the pitch. So maybe that's a bonus in a way for Gareth Southgate, because he can bring one of the other players in who I feel he should have brought in the first place. You all know how strongly I like Ben Godfrey. I do feel sorry for him missing out, and I totally take Pete's point about Connor Cody. Connor Cody's very, very local to us, actually, but he's not had the best of seasons. He is a bit of a steady Eddie. I mean, the funny thing is with these England squads is that you take your squads, but there'll be certain players that won't get near the 11, and I think Connor Cody is one of those. I think it would take an injury for Connor Cody to be on the pitch, so I think he's probably brought him in just in the fact that he's Wolves captain, and he is quite a steady player. He's not someone who makes rash decisions. He's not had the greatest season, as Pete said, but maybe he's done that, just for the fact that he knows him, having probably coached him when he was under 21 boss Gareth Southgate. So I don't know whether that's the reason why he's gone with Connor Cody. But I also agree with Pete when it comes to Tyrone Mings. I don't get the hype around him. He looks like one of those centre backs who's got all the attributes. But he's always capable of a mistake. Every time I see him at centre back, I never feel confident. I've watched him quite a lot for Villa this season, and at times he looks great. At other times he looks dodgy. And for me, I wouldn't be picking him as England manager, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, Pete's as well. Ben White, I don't think he should have been in the provisional squad anyway. I appreciate, he's probably had a good season. He was on loan at Leeds, wasn't he? And then Leeds wanted to keep him. Then he went back to his parent club, which is Brighton. But I haven't seen anything outstanding from Ben White for him to be considered for the squad. In my opinion, I feel really sorry for I feel really sorry for Jesse Lingard. I'm really surprised he's not been picked, because he's done great things for West Ham, and he's literally carried the team, and they are where they are mainly because of Jesse Lingard. And so for him to not pick him, I think is quite unusual. And I also find it odd, and this is what I wanted to pick up with you before, Dad. I find it really odd that we've gone in a friendly against Austria tonight and we've started Jesse Lingard. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? Again, it feels a bit like, I've not picked you in the squad, but I'll put you in the 11. But that's not going to help us.
It's not
going to help us, is it? Yeah. It's kind of like, here's a game, and after this game, you're going to go home. And I just don't understand it. I don't know why he's in the 11. He started tonight, and I don't understand it.
For the World Cup.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And I think, there's play like Jadon Sancho was on the bench. I mean, from what I gather, I'm not a massive fan of German football. I don't watch it all the time, but I understand that Jadon Sancho hasn't had a great season. So surely it would have made more sense to play Jadon Sancho, work him out, see how he's playing, see what his fitness is like, see how he's performing with these, group of players. I saw Jack Grealish was playing. He's been out injured, so it's important to have him in, see how he's doing, see how he's coping. I noticed he had a big ice pack on his leg when he came off, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. But yeah, like Pete, I'm not overly excited by the squad. When I seen it, I was just like, okay. I noticed on TalkSport the other night, I think it was Jamie O'Hara talking it up, saying, we've got a fantastic chance, and we're in good stead, to perhaps win it. I just don't see that. I think with teams like France and Belgium, as soon as we come up against a half decent nation, I think we struggle. I really do. And I appreciate we've got some good players in there, and I'm not knocking certain individuals, but as a team, I'm not convinced. I'm really not. But hey, I didn't think we'd get to the semis, last time out. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being harsh. I don't know. But yeah, I always enjoy tournament football when it's on, but mainly because I like watching all the other nations. I enjoy like, the whole build up and everything. And when England do progress, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-England. I'm just not fully in there like some people are. But it's good to have a bit of football on anyway while there's a break, and it gives us something to keep our eye on. Yeah, and Chris, it could be worse. It could be, I don't know what will happen first. Newcastle take over, or Ireland will qualify for another major tournament. Maybe neither. Probably Ireland.
But let's hope for the takeover anyway. Whatever about the internationals. Okay, I want to say, tell people what's happening next week. So next week, the 9th of June. We'll be back with some loaded headlines, some loaded mystery guests. We also have someone, usually try to get someone on anyway. We have the loaded fan favorites, 1 to 11. Myself and Martin need to go in there. Actually, no, Martin, give up his spot if he's listening in the chat. Yeah, Martin, you're on. You're so I'm on next week. So I'll take on someone next week.
I believe it's one of the lads from the Outcharms who's coming on to do it.
Oh, the Outcharms. They were a good band.
They are.
Sorry, Stuart Outcharms. Yep. So that should be interesting. Loaded Tune will be back. Hopefully we'll get the Sheratons on with us. A nice few tracks from the Sheratons. Listen to a few of their songs during the week. Good tunes. We'll have Loaded Quiz, hopefully, with the band. Shout out then. You can follow us on Twitter at LoadedHQ1. and Instagram on Loaded HQ, and you can find us on YouTube, and please subscribe. You can find us on youtube.com/c/Loaded HQ. Is there anything else you'd like to say, lads, before we play out with the last tune?
I just think they're just going off what we said about the Euro. I think England, I know it's not a home tournament as such, but if they top the group and everything, they only play one game away from Wembley, and that's the quarter final if they get through by winning the group, and that they go to Rome. So I know it's obviously not a home one, but every other game they can play at Wembley. So it's probably the best chance they've had of winning something really since '96.
Yeah, you're at '96 all over again.
Yeah.
Coming home, lad.
Coming home.
I'm the opposite. I'll finish on it. I'm the opposite to Chris. When it comes to tournament season, me and my mates, ever since we come out of school, Portugal 04, we have the same bar, the same 20-odd lads. We book the same table, and the beers are flowing. So I cannot wait for it to start, because it's like I've missed it.
Nice.
Yeah, I've dug me England '96 Holland commemorative shirt out for the tournament as well.
Oh, class.
Nice.
Class.
And I'll probably do a few of the games on here. So yeah, we will do some of the games on the run up to the while yours are on. I know we've talked about the England-Scotland game. So whoever would like to join us, just let us know, and we'll try and get a few people on as well, and we'll do a match day live experience, an international one. So that would be fun.
We'll see if we can get the Dictator lads back on from last week.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, they'll go for that one, all right. Cool. So let me play out though and say thanks to everyone. We'll wave goodbye to everyone on the radio, and we're saying goodbye as well to everyone in the chat. So we're going to play out with a tune. We're going to play out with Perfect Flaw. I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care, man.
All your lies and broken hearts you left, they fall apart again. I don't feel no wonder if you're in. I'm the door that's closed on you and never lets in light. If Cupid had a gun, would you still wanna live? 'Cause through my life I saw the things that you might hope to be, and I'm your perfect flaw. I'm not what you saw, and everything comes crashing down at your feet when you love. Come around again, but you don't feel, and you're wondering if I'm real. But I'm the door that's closed on you and never lets in light. If Cupid had a gun, would you still wanna love? 'Cause through my life you saw the things that you might hope to be. I'm your perfect flaw, and I'm not what you saw. And everything comes crashing down at your feet when you love. Cupid had a gun, but you still wanna love me. 'Cause through my life you saw the things that you might hope to be. And I'm your perfect flaw, and I'm not what you saw. And everything comes crashing down at your feet when you